Well, it's June the 10th, and welcome to my reflection. It's sort of a double dose of church stuff today because many of you probably have already received the email that our spring variety show, Hello St. Paul's, is out, and the video is up. So you can find it around here somewhere if you're on our channel. If not, just go to our channel and you'll be able to find it. So the reading from this morning is taken from Ecclesiastes, chapter 9, verses 11 to 18. Again, I saw that under the sun, the race was not to the swift, nor the battle to the strong, nor bread to the wise, nor riches to the intelligent, nor favor to the skillful, but time and chance happen to them all. For no one can anticipate the time of disaster. Like fish taken in a cruel net, and like birds caught in a snare, so mortals are snared at a time of calamity, when it suddenly falls upon them. I have also seen this example of wisdom under the sun, and it seemed great to me. There was a little city with a few people in it. A great king came against it and besieged it, building great siege works against it. Now there was found in it a poor wise man, and he, by his wisdom, delivered the city. Yet no one remembered that poor man. So I said, Wisdom is better than might. Yet the poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heeded. The quiet words of the wise are more to be heeded than the shouting of a ruler among fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one bungler destroys much good. Well, a very timely reading for today and for these days. And Ecclesiastes in this chapter is not just about this particular verse, this particular section. Chapter 9 also talks about that death is inevitable for both the good and the evil, and that we should enjoy life while we can, because someday it indeed will end. The story about the poor man who was wise, who saved the city against really someone who shouted and was a fool, but was a king, is salient for our times, but I think also it gives us some reflection and pause about what we think and how we think and who we listen to. I think we have to examine ourselves and say to ourselves, who do we listen to? Who is it that I get my information from? Who is it that I respect? Who is it that is wise in my life? Who do I see as wise? We don't always recognize wisdom. We don't always recognize when someone makes a lot of sense. Typically, we'll fall into familiar patterns or listen to those who we listened to before listening to someone new that perhaps has information to share or wisdom that we might glean. I think that's something we have to examine in our own lives. What is it about the wisdom that we need to listen to that we're not? What is it about the thing that someone poor is telling us that we don't want to hear because we don't think they're successful enough, at least in the eyes of our society? We're called by Jesus that all are equal, that everyone should be listened to, that everyone should be respected, that everyone has some wisdom. And yet we ignore those who we don't agree with, or we ignore those who don't look like us. It's time to stop that. We need to recognize, indeed, that we don't know everything, that the people we listen to are not all-knowing and all-wise. We need to listen to others, voices of not only dissent, but disagreement. Who is it that you listen to who shouts? Who is it that you listen to who screams at the top of their lungs about a foolish thing they are saying? We listen. Ecclesiastes is very clear. The quiet words of the wise are more to be heeded than the shouting of a ruler among fools. Wisdom is better than weapons of war, but one bungler destroys much good. Now, I do understand that in reading that, people of certain political persuasions will say, well, I listen to the wise, and the other people are just a bunch of bungling fools who yell and scream. And that's one of the problems we have in our society. We pitted ourselves against each other instead of working together for whatever reason. And that's something that needs to stop. The church can be an example of that. The church can indeed be one that listens to the wise instead of the fools who shout. And that's part of our task. That's part of what Jesus says. Jesus ignores those who shout at the top of their lungs if they're foolish, but listens to the wisdom of the poor and the meek, and those who should be heeded. And so should we. So again, I ask you to examine, who is it that you listen to? Who is it that you think is wise? And how do you take their wise words and apply it to your own life? And then how can you share that with others so that we can all do the same? Amen.